In this video, we are going to create our projects folder and start building the skeleton of our website using HTML. So first of all, let's go to the same folder we used earlier for our maths website and create a new folder there for our game and call it 2.mathsgame. And then JS for JavaScript. Okay, so let's open this folder using brackets. Okay, and let's create a new file inside the folder and call it index.html. Alright, now let's start writing HTML code from scratch. So at the beginning, we're going to have a doc type. And we're going to set it to HTML for HTML5. Okay. And then we're going to have our HTML element. And then inside the HTML element, we're going to have our head element and then our body element. Okay. So I'm going to add an attribute to the HTML element. It's going to be the language, and I'm going to set it to English. Okay. In the head element, we're going to start with the title. And we're going to set that to maths game. Let's see our live preview. So we can already see the title there. Okay. And then we're going to set our character encoding using the meta element character set. And we'll set that to UTF-8. Okay. Now let's move to the body element, or before doing that, let's add the viewport element. So it's going to be a meta element, and we're going to give it a name, viewport. And let's set some properties to our viewport. So we're going to set the width of the viewport to the device width, like we did earlier in the first project. Okay. And let's set the initial scale again to 1. So this means that the initial zoom level is going to be 1. And also let's allow the user to zoom in and zoom out by setting the user scalable property to yes. And let's close our tag. Okay. Alright, now before moving to the body element, we are going to create our external CSS file and link it to our index.html file. Okay. So I'm going to call it styling.css. And this we're going to be putting all the decoration of our website. And we're going to need to link this file to our HTML file by adding a link element inside the head element. Okay. So the relationship is going to be styling sheet or style sheet, and the href is going to go to styling.css. Okay. All right. Now let's move to the body. So first of all, we are going to style the background of our page. Okay. So we're going to go to our CSS file. We're going to select the HTML element. Okay. To style the whole page. And then we are going to use the background property that we're going to set using the radial gradient function. So inside this function, we're going to use 3 parameters. So the first one is going to be the shape, and I'm going to go for circle. Then a couple of colors. So the first one is going to be the center color, and I'm going to choose a white color for this, and then a gray color. Okay, so you can see that's the gradient goes from a white color in the middle to a gray color in the edges. But the problem is we don't see the circle shape at the moment. And to fix that, we're going to need to give our HTML element a height of 100%. Okay. And now we can see the radial gradient. This is not going to work with the body element. Okay. So we need to use the HTML element for this styling. Okay. All right. Now let's move to the body elements and start adding HTML components in there. So you will notice that all the elements are wrapped inside this blue box. Okay. So this is behaving as a container. So we're going to create a div inside our body element. And we're going to give it an ID container. And then we'll place all the other elements inside it. Okay. So let's style this container using its ID. So using number sign followed by the name of the ID. So first of all, let's give it a height of 300 pixels, for example, and a width of 400, for example. And also let's give it a background color using this nice blue color. So let's pick it up using ColorZilla. Okay. So now if we look at our box, this is how it looks like. Let's center it in the middle of the page. Okay, we can change the dimensions later. So to center it, we're going to use the margin property. So we're going to set the top and bottom margins to 100 pixels and the left and right margins to auto, so that the margin keeps getting bigger and bigger on the left and right hand sides until our element is centered in the page, just like this. Okay. Now let's change the dimensions slightly. So let's go for 400 and 500 or 550. Okay, we're going to add some padding later, so it's going to become a little bit bigger. Okay, so let's do it now. So padding. So we need the padding to create this space between the border and the elements inside. Okay, so let's go for 10 pixels. Okay. Or 20 pixels. Okay. Now let's style the corners using the border radius property. Okay. So let's set that to 10 pixels. Okay, looks fine. Now let's add this box shadow using the box shadow property. Okay. So the syntax is as following. Okay. First, we're going to have the horizontal offset. And if that's positive, that means that our shadow is going to be on the right of our box. Okay. And then the vertical offsets. And again, if that's positive, this means that we're going to have our shadow at the bottom of the box. Okay. If it's negative, then it's going to be the opposite at the top. All right. Then we're going to have the blur radius. Okay. So if we set that to 0 pixels, then our shadow is going to be sharp like that. If we increase that, then it's going to become more and more blurry. Okay. So let's leave it at 0 pixels for now. And then we're going to have the spread radius, which is optional, and it will just control the size of our shadow. So if we set it to 20 pixels, for example, you can see how our shadow becomes bigger. Okay. Let's leave it at 0. Okay, for now. And let's add a color for our shadow. And I'm going to use this color, which corresponds to this code. Okay. So now we've got our shadow there. We only want our shadow to appear at the bottom of the box. So we are going to set the horizontal offset to 0. And that looks fine now. All right. All right. Now let's move to our score box. So we're going to create a div inside our container, okay? And then we're going to style it using some background and box shadow. So let's go to our index.html file and create a div inside the container, okay? So we're going to give it an ID, score, okay? And inside our div, let's write score space 0. Okay, so when we play in the game, the score is going to change, okay, when we get correct answers. So what we're going to do, we're going to place the score value inside a span, and we're going to give it an ID so that we can manipulate it later using JavaScript. Okay, so rather than writing 0, just like that, I'm going to copy that and place it inside a span. Okay, and I'm going to give the span an ID, score value. Okay, so later on when we are writing JavaScript, we're going to refer to this number using the ID score value. Okay, now let's add some styling to our score box. Okay, so we're going to create a new line. We're going to refer to the score box using its ID score. So first of all, let's give it a background color, and let's get the color using the ColorZilla from there. Okay, and then let's change the text color using the color property. Okay, so let's pick the text color from here. Okay, so, and then let's add some padding to the text. Okay, and let's go for 5 pixels. Okay, let's add a bit more padding, 10 pixels. Okay, all right, and let's position our box. So we're gonna give it a position absolute, okay, so that we can position it relative to the container. Okay, but first of all, let's give our container a position attribute of relative. Okay, we need to do this, okay, before we give the absolute position to the score box. Okay, now we can see our score box position there. Okay, so that's going to be top 0 and left 0. Okay, and what we want our score box to be positioned right there. So we're going to change the left property, okay, to 400, for example, or 500, and that looks all right. Okay, the space we have there is because of the padding of our container. Okay, so the position looks fine. Let's add a little bit more padding there. That looks okay. And now let's add some box shadow. Okay, so you can see the shadow at the bottom only. Okay, so the first value, the horizontal value, is going to be 0 pixels, and then let's give the vertical one 4 pixels. Okay, and let's change the color to this one. Okay, if we don't set the blur radius, it's going to be 0 by default. So this is similar to having 0 pixels for the blur radius. Okay. All right, now let's move to the feedback messages. Okay, so we're going to be creating the correct box and the try again box. Okay, and then we're going to decorate them and position them inside our container. So first of all, let's go to our index.html file and create a couple of divs, okay, following the score div. So the first one is going to be for the correct message, and we're going to give it an ID of correct, okay, and we're going to write correct inside. And the second one, we're going to give it an ID wrong, and we're going to write inside try again. Okay. Okay, looks fine. All right. Now let's style these boxes and position them inside our container. So we're going to add a new line. So let's start with the correct box. So first of all, we're going to position these boxes the same way we have positioned our score box, which means that we're going to be giving them, both of them, a position property of absolute. Okay, so we are going to position them relative to the container box. So remember that in order to do that, we had to add the relative position to our container. If we didn't have this, then the relative positioning of these elements was going to be according to the body elements. Okay, so we'll be looking for the first parent that is having a relative position. Okay. Okay, so position absolute, and then let's give it a left property of 200 pixels. Okay, we're going to come back to this later. And let's change the background color okay, I'm going to set it to this color. Okay, a nice green color. You can change it if you want. Okay, and then I'm going to change the text color to white. That's how it is. Okay, and let's add some padding. Okay, so that we can have some space between the text and the borders. So I'm going to go for 11 pixels, just like we did with the score box. That looks fine. And now let's adjust our left property so that this is positioned in the middle of the container. So let's try 250 or 260. And that looks fine. Okay, now let's move to the other box. So this time this is going to be wrong. So the position is going to be absolute. Okay. Let's change the left position to 100 until we finish the styling. So let's change the background color. I'm going to go for this nice red color. Okay. And okay, the text color is fine and the padding is fine. Okay. So now we want to position our box in the middle as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hide the correct box. Anyway, we're going to need to do this, okay, by using the display property. And then later on, using JavaScript, when we have a correct answer, okay, we are going to show the correct message for a short while, okay, and then hide it, okay. So for now, I'm going to set the display property to none. Okay, and now we can't see it. And now let's position our wrong message. Let's go for 250. Okay, it looks fine. And similarly, we are gonna set the display property to none, and we'll only show it when we get a wrong answer. Okay.